another question going back to like what you mentioned earlier about your study, how you went into like studying attitudes in the U.S. and the U.K. and India. What other cultures would you like to include in the model? Obviously, like the more the better.
Yeah.
But like, what's kind of like the logical next step here?
Yeah, the more the better. But there's really two approaches here. I'm gonna borrow like a joke from somebody else. I'm gonna butcher it too. But it's like there's two approaches here. That this is going back to the philosophy of science approach. It's like there's like a bunch of people on a train, and one guy looks out the train window and says like all the sheep in Scotland are black, and another person looks out and goes like this sheep in this field is black. But then the third person goes, at least half of one sheep in Scotland is black. And it's really just like, do you start off by assuming your model is general and then try to find places that breaks down? Or do you assume that it only applies to like North America and then try to like slowly probe outward? I feel like we've ended up with the the first scenario, like assuming that this model works for everyone, but we don't really believe that. Like, we want to test in places that it breaks down, but that's kind of like an assumption that we're working from right now, and then we want to find where it breaks and adjust the model over time. Okay. So testing in other cultures is on the docket.
Okay. Do you have any ideas as to where you might try and export this to?
First, we want to like work on the model more. We've been really trying to figure out like what's the best way to proceed. So for like our next step, for example, we want to like see how high we can go in North America in terms of variance explained. In the abstract of the paper, we call the model bad because it is. It's like we have linear predictors, which just means like straight lines rather than like a curvilinear relationship, or interactions between our variables. We're doing like a primitive modeling job. And we're going to be hosting probably in like a few months a modeling competition where we offer some money and we have like we give people some data and they come up with a model and then we just like see which one performs the best.
Sort of like a hackathon.
Yeah, actually, yeah. This is modeled off of like Kaggle competitions. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And the idea is that we'll be able to like have a lot of people try to work on the same problem just statistically and see if we can like make the models like a lot better. And then maybe once we have like a pretty good or a model that we feel better about here, that's when we try to like export it a little harder.
Okay. Well, it's very good that you're having like this reflex to be very rigorous about your data.
I guess so.
And your approach. And also calling the model bad, I think it's just more of like a reflection of like, this is a very imperfect model. It's the first of its kind and like it needs to be reiterated and improved upon.
Yeah. We named it like 1.0 with that in mind as well, kind of borrowing from like computer programming approaches where small iterations and improvements, call it like 1.1, 1.2, things like that. And also a lot of times people come up with a name that's like one specific name for one specific model, but it's unclear like what the successor to that might be because they're not like linked. And just like our arguments for formal models, maybe having like a numerical to show like what is the most modern tech in terms of like modeling prejudice. You just find the most recent number would be better. And it gets it away from Becca and I. Like we don't really want this to be only us kind of like nerding out in the corner on our own thing. Ideally other people would come along and be able to take what we've done and like do a better job with it, I guess.
Right. And what other labs are you collaborating with on this project?
So Rebecca Neal at the University of Toronto is my main collaborator on this. And so far the only people working on it. But when we have our competition, there's been a number of other people who have already expressed interest in the competition. We have like 10 teams so far, but we haven't really advertised yet. So this is just like little word of mouth things of people saying like, hey, I'm interested. And I guess that they would technically be collaborators. But my main person is Dr. Rebecca Neal, and my grad student Travis Lim is going to be like running this modeling competition.
Okay.